one more exciting session with BDM International. Thank you, Visi ma'am. Thank you, RB ma'am, for your kind presence throughout. Today, we all have gathered over here to observe the World Population Day. Now, before we start off with the series of exciting programs that we all have planned for the day, let me take the pleasure of introducing the guest participants for the day. To start off with, I have Arpita Nandi ma'am. Miss Arpita Nandi ma'am is not only a former student of BDM International, but presently she is teaching in the secondary section of BDM International. Then I
Good
have
afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Then I have Anusha Dey all the way from Dublin. She has completed her master's in economics from Dublin University, and thank you, Anusha, once again for connecting with us.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Next, I have Shohini Chakraborty. She has also completed her schooling from BDM International, and now she is pursuing her master's in sociology from JNU. And I
Thank you,
have
ma'am, and hello, everyone.
Good afternoon. And I have Shavnik Chakraborty, who is also a former student of BDM International and presently pursuing his graduation in political science from Jadavpur University. But one thing I want to make clear, children, that yes, academically, maybe you are no longer a part of our school, but you are very much a part of BDM International, and more importantly, you are very, very close to our heart. Along with the seniors, I would take the opportunity to welcome the young students of 11 Humanities. They have also joined us for the discussion. Now, today, as we all have gathered to discuss the World Population Day. But what is this World Population Day? What is the significance of the day? I think before starting with the program, we should have a little insight, we should have a little knowledge about what this World Population Day is all about, or what is the significance of the day. So I will request Angona. Angona, if you could kindly give some insight about the World Population Day. Over to you, Angona.
Sorry, ma'am. Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss about World Population Day. What do we mean by World Population Day? It is basically an annual event which is observed on 11th of July every year. It was suggested by Dr. K.C. Zakaria on 11th of July 1987, who worked as a senior demographer then at World Bank. It drew its inspiration from the 5 billion day in July 11th, 1989, the day when the population of the world reached 5 billion. The main objectives of this day are basically to raise awareness towards health and hygiene, to make education available for all groups and sections of the society. Thirdly, to work towards the empowerment of the multiple oppressed genders, and to raise awareness about social discrimination. Now, I would like to request ma'am to provide some further inputs on this day and its objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Angona. Thank you, Angona, for sharing those facts with us. And indeed, I think we all will appreciate the fact that every single day, as the members of the civil society, we all aim for a society which is free from any kind of exploitation, any kind of discrimination. We all look for a society which is free and fair. But the question is, standing in this 2020, to what extent we have actually approached towards this egalitarian society that we all aim for. So what we have decided for the day is to discuss about what the young generation feel about it, to what extent, what do they feel, that to what extent the society is egalitarian, the society is free and fair for the day. So what we have done, depending on what we have, what depending on what they are feeling, depending on what they have to say, we will try to understand the perspective of the young minds. So this remains our topic for the day, that is the planet 50-50 in this 2020. Now, we all know that the present trend is the new normal. COVID-19 has introduced us with a lot of terms, lot of new cultures, and one of such is the new normal. So following the trend, we will be going ahead with the new normal, and I will be focusing on this young bunch of school students. What is your feeling, children? You all have been learning, you all have been reading about it, your teachers have been telling about it, but what is your perspective, children? Do you actually feel that this 50-50 we are talking about, the equal distribution we are talking about in terms of resources to each and every citizen, to each and every member of the planet, do you think that we are ahead, we are proceeding towards it, we are close to it, or we are in it? So what is your perspective?
Ma'am, first of all, thank you to grant us this wonderful opportunity to speak on behalf of the entire 11 humanity section and to give us the opportunity to voice our views and opinions. And as for the answer to your question, we would like to do it in a bit different way. Something that goes with a Gen Y, something much more tech savvy and a bit computer oriented. So, yeah, let's proceed. And I would like Abi to start with the presentation kindly. Happy World Population Day. Is our planet 50-50 in this year 2020? As we all know, every year July 11 is celebrated as World Population Day, which sought to spread awareness about public issues. And for this year, after experiencing a major setback due to this pandemic situation, its theme is to spread awareness about health issues on the grounds of equality of all gender in this situation. Gender equality has become a movement than just a mere word, something that determines the evolution of all the institutions of the world. Still, my mind harks back to the time when few were deprived of basic rights of health and education and even expression due to the evil of gender inequality. But notably, with passing of time, empowerment has given way to a mostly egalitarian society. But still, few evils are yet to moped away. In this situation, it is really salient to keep ourselves updated with the world news, which will be presented by my mates in bits and chunks hereafter. And I hope I will be able to rightly cater to your question and hope you will enjoy it. Thank you.
So, now talking about health. Health is a state of physical, mental, and social well being in which disease and infirmity are absent. According to history, health was seen as a state of normal function that could be disrupted from time to time. In 1948, the World Health Organization proposed a more radical definition of health, which linked it to well being. Now, let's talk about infant mortality rate. The risk of a child dying before completing the first year of age was highest in the WHO African region, that is 51 per thousand live births, over 6 times higher than that in the WHO European region, that is 8 per thousand live births. Globally, the infant mortality rate has decreased from an estimated rate of 65 deaths per thousand live births in 1990 to 29 deaths per thousand live births in 2017. A low infant mortality rate indicates a high standard of healthcare. Globally, it is forecasted that this rate will drop to 8 infant deaths per thousand live births by the year 2100. India's inhabitants predominantly live in rural areas where standards of living as well as access to medical care and hygiene are traditionally lower. Also, practices like female feticide and female infanticide have had a contrary influence on the sex ratio. India has 930 females per thousand males. So government banned the determination of the fetus in order to protect the females and maintain a balanced sex ratio. Now let's talk about the maternal mortality rate. Maternal mortality rate is defined by the WHO as the death of a woman while pregnant or within 42 days of termination of pregnancy, irrespective of the duration and site of the pregnancy, but not from accidental or incidental causes. As a woman has gained access to family planning and skilled birth attendance with backup emergency obstetric care, the global maternal morbidity ratio has fallen from 385 maternal deaths per 100,000 live births in 1990 to 216 deaths per 100,000 live births in 2015. Although attempts have been made in reducing maternal mortality, there is much room for improvement, particularly in impoverished regions. Now, talking about COVID 19. In today's world, health has been a great issue in an overpopulated country like India. Health can be categorized into various parts like basic hygiene, nutrition, medicinal health, etc. In the recent coronavirus pandemic, health has become an all-important issue in the world. COVID-19 pandemic has also shown the world how much we still have to go to save our kind from a pandemic. Now let's talk about the future of the world. The future of the world is in the hands of qualified doctors working day and night to provide us a life without any fear of diseases. As we look into the future, everyone engaged in healthcare is focused on creating a system that consistently delivers quality care, improves health outcomes, and delivers better value. We as individuals must take responsibility for our health and embrace healthcare education and technology that will enable finite healthcare resources to continue to support our growing needs as our population grows and ages and polymorbidity becomes more frequent. Now, the next topic is education.
Literacy is the ability to read and write, maybe something that we take for granted. Here we'll be discussing about the three main points. First, the history and emergence of education system. The first written communication dates all the way back to 3500 BC, when only a small amount of people learned to read and write. People who knew how to read and write held public performances displaying their skill. If we talk about India, you will be surprised to know that it is believed that India has the world's largest and oldest educational system. It is also believed that the world's first university was established in Takshila in 700 BC. The brilliant man who stood up for the women of 19th century India is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. He vigorously fought and defended women's right to education. Now we will be discussing about the next topic, which is about present condition of literacy in the world. Every country puts a lot of attention to the educational sector. No one can deny the importance of high literacy rate behind the good overall performance of nation. There are 10 countries with high literacy rate. First, Russia. Second, Canada. Third, Japan. Fourth, Israel. Fifth, USA. Sixth, South Korea. Seventh, New Zealand. Eighth, United Kingdom. Ninth, Finland. And 10th, Australia. India's literacy rate is 74.04%. Now we'll be discussing about the main point of this topic, that is future of education.
I think Shomojit has got disconnected for the while. Can we proceed with the next slide in that case?
Yes, ma'am. Women empowerment. Women empowerment is the process of empowering women. Empowerment includes the action of raising the status of women through education, raising awareness, literacy, and training. More employment of women will create changes in economic prosperity. Evidently, empowerment is the key to solving issues like gender inequality and poverty, as well as foster economic development. The ways in which we can empower women are the following: placing women as leaders and giving them decision-making roles. As we have recently noticed, countries like New Zealand and Germany, which are led by women leaders, have successfully handled the pandemic which the world is going through. Meanwhile, many countries have failed. This clearly shows that women can handle a situation in pressure quite well than men. Then why don't we provide them with the opportunity. This is something we need to look onto. Then we'd like to talk about generating more job opportunities. As we can clearly see, compared to men, women have very low job options. Despite their contribution, women don't get equal access to job opportunities. There are still numerous fields in which women are not recruited. This problem needs to be solved at the earliest. The third and the most important issue is taking action against unpaid or unequally paid labor. This problem should be solved by ensuring employers are not discriminated or recruited because of their gender. Now I'd like to hand over to Shanga and Sanjana.
Social discrimination affecting the population. Firstly, I would like to discuss on the impact of society on population. Social processes are closely linked with human population. Therefore, it is important to study characteristics of population. Not only population determines structure and processes of society, but society also determines the population characteristics and dynamics. Gender equality, besides being a fundamental human right, is essential to achieve peaceful societies with full human potential and sustainable development. Next, moving on to gender equality as a global issue in the past.
Gender equality as a global issue in the past. Casting light on gender equality, since the pre-modern society, the European countries have been an influential witness to it. Notably, the French Revolution is considered for this as well. In context to it, from the very beginning, women were an active participant in each and every event that made so many changes in the French society. This made the result of making 60 women clubs in total. The Society of Revolutionary and the Republican Women was the most famous of them, the ultimate of which was the achievement of getting voting rights for women in 1946. Well, keeping in mind the struggle of women in the French society, let us now proceed with the United Nations role. United Nations have played an important role immensely in every social issue. The idea of gender equality emerged in the United Nations Charter. It was established for the major devastation caused during World War II and in order to promote international cooperation as well. The United Nations became the first ever international body to assert the principle of equality between men and women in its founding document. It was stated in the first article of Charter stating to achieve international cooperation in promoting and encouraging respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms for all without any discrimination as to race, sex, language, or religion.
Next is Raja Rammohan Roy in India. The maker of modern India was Raja Rammohan Roy. At a time when society was cursed with the iniquities clad in the fabric of religion, through the Brahmo Samaj, Raja Rammohan Roy raised his voice against the caste system, polygamy, child marriage, infanticides, untouchability, seclusion of women, and the Purdah system. Brahmo Samaj attacked the age-old social taboos and tried to make Indian society more secular than before. The next topic is about the present and the future. Feminism. Feminism is a range of social movements, political movements, and ideologies that aim to define, establish, and achieve the political, economic, personal, and social equality of the sexes. Efforts to change that include fighting gender stereotypes and professional opportunities for all types of gender. Next topic is optimism.
Optimism, that is, sustaining confidence about the future success. it has been an evident impact on the global gender equality. The most cautious and probable reasons to this are: firstly, it is obvious that there is no guarantee that the present trends will continue in the future. Secondly, gender equality undergoes two-step processes that can be summarized co-equally as per quotation. First, get in the club and then attain equality within the club, which means an individual should be aware of their rights and we should be using in it proper and crucial situations. Forwarding with a positive note, let us now talk about the present gender activist situation. The idea and case study of global activists raises further interest on and crucial questions which the discussion has so far addressed. It allows a focus on the continuous and structured gender power relations, discrimination, institutional and structured inequalities, and their impact on our everyday lives. Further, in collaboration with the social media and activism, there has been an increased activist campaigns as well as academic analysis. So, by this point of discussion, we identify various concerns from the emergence of gender equality to the future expectation towards it in a positive perspective. However, one question may arise in our mind: is it possible to reduce social discrimination in this society? Well, we can usefully focus on three aspects to continue to address the reduction of issue of gender equality in an innovative and more fruitful way. The most possible ways can be to further the contemporary debate and emphasis on the intersectionality in relation to gender inequality, to highlight the increased academic focus on toxic masculinity and gender relation, along with feminism as well as multiplicities of gender. Also, one needs to think activism as its connection with the academy and other topics involved in the society, especially lightening the technological advances. Thank you.
I think there is some connection problem. Abir? Okay. I think again, this is again some of the issues we often have to deal with when we all are meeting and when we are trying to interact maybe through this virtual platform. I will wait for Abir if he could join with us. I don't think so. He is having
Ma'am, you
some
can hear me?
Abir?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes. Please,
You can
Abir
hear me,
is
ma'am?
back. Please, Abir. Thank you. Abir, continue.
Sorry for the inconvenience. So I'll start. All the human beings are born free, both in dignity and in rights. So why is it that individuals who go on to develop and experience mental illness are seen as a soft target for discrimination at a number of levels and in various domains in their daily lives? We still have a long way to go in achieving a world of no discrimination. But if we work together and holding hands, then the day is not too far. Hope you all like it. The contribution of this presentation is as follows. Introduction is done by Debarati De, Health by Samriddhi Mukherjee, Literacy by Shomojit Jha, Women Empowerment by Shriya Vardhan Pandey, Social Discrimination and Affecting Population by Sangha Patadunda and Sanjana Majumdar, Conclusion and the Editing by Abir Sanyal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would definitely say very well expressed thought, the young generation. But one thing, children, you all have included what you all are hoping for. But one thing you have to remember that for us, you all are the hope. So whatever you all are hoping for, it is you all who have to execute it. Thank you. Thank you very much, children. Now I'll get back to Arpita ma'am. Arpita ma'am, you have seen how nicely the children they focus themselves and they express themselves. Ma'am, what do you think? What do you have to say about it? Do you also agree with the children?
Firstly, it was indeed a great presentation by the students. Well done. And this is a very pertinent topic on this World Population Day. And if I have to speak about whether it's a 50-50 in this 2020, then it will not be correct to generalize. We should look at both sides of the coin. Now, what basically is gender stereotype? Now, this is a term which has come from the discrepant distribution of men and women into social roles, both within their homes and at work outside. Now, as the Indian society is evolving, the traditional gender roles can no longer be accepted as norms. The young people are now much more accepting of the fluid gender roles and responsibilities in the society. Now, let me share a bit of personal experience, an example from my life. So, when I was a kid and in the process of growing up, I would always see or I would always find my mother in charge of all the household works and all the household responsibilities, and my father would be toiling the entire day at work outside. And yes, we all have seen this division of labor in the process of growing up. But now, when I am a working woman and I come across a number of people, I can actually say that there has been a lot of changes coming up among the men of this generation. I can very well realize my responsibilities, my household responsibilities being willingly shared by the male counterpart. And I'm very sure many of you are also experiencing such changes at home. And moreover, if we consider the present pandemic situation, it has been a learning curve for many men. As they are working from home, they are in a much better position to witness how much effort and labor goes into converting a house into a home. And we can find that men are voluntarily participating in the household work. They are voluntarily taking responsibilities. So this is indeed a change which has evolved over time, and definitely there is much more to go. And as I was telling you, saying all this, there is the other side of the coin as well. So yes, young people have now become much more open towards gender roles, but their traditional views about who does what work at home still remains the same. We find like patriarchy is so deeply entrenched in the society, in our mindset, in the laws, that Indians still believe that the current social situation is the default one. We find few families even now where the daughters are entitled to far lesser than the sons, be in terms of education and playtime, to choosing a life partner. So the boys, in the process of growing up, when they find that their mothers are unquestioningly handling all the household work, they're taking all the household responsibilities alone, they also start expecting the same thing to be followed by their wives and daughters. Here, I would like to quote a sociologist from the University of Texas, Joanna Papin. She said, if the young people can't even envision what the model of men's life at home looks like, then possibly it's a fact that our visions or our belief about gender are still very strong and sticky. No, so it's really not about letting people work outside, or it's not about giving independence, because I firmly believe that every person is born free, every person is independent from birth. So freedom is not something which can be given to anyone, nor is it something which can be taken away from anyone. So yes, young people are, or young families are now much open to women's equality outside home, mainly because of the unstable employment. But yes, their traditional views or their views about gender roles within the home has not evolved much. So as we have seen in the presentation also, as the children have already said, that we had reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar who have actually fought about, or we have actually fought for women's rights, respect and dignity in the society. And it is for their struggle that we are in the present position. We are what we are because of their efforts, their struggles. but such people are very few in number in the society. So unless the women actually get respect for the labor she puts at home, unless a woman gets the dignity of the labor which she is actually putting at home and for the so called unpaid services she provides at home, it is not possible for her to achieve the respect and dignity outside in the workplace or in the society also. So, respecting women or giving dignity to her labor begins at home. Then only she can expect to have or to achieve that dignity in the society. No, legislative changes alone cannot bring about much change. It cannot basically reverse the current epidemic of violence and injustice against the women. So, an entire attitudinal shift is essential for for this equality, for the women to be considered as equals within their home as well as in the broader society. And as we all know that action speaks louder than words. So I would wholeheartedly urge the present generation to be live examples for the future generation. If we are teaching or if we teach our children gender equality, or if we treat themselves equally and we set right examples by teaching them the importance of gender equality, then definitely we can plant a seed for a gender sensitized society. And who knows, maybe a few years later, we won't be talking about gender roles and gender stereotypes. Probably we would be talking about shared responsibilities. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Arpita ma'am. But I think not only about gender roles, probably we won't be discussing or we won't be studying about any forms of discretion. And this is again, I think, change is something which is only thing which is constant. And children, again, as Arpita ma'am has said, again, I'm repeating, our future is in your hand. So what you are learning, what your teachers are saying, what you all are realizing, execute them, and please, we all hope that you all will be making the world a better place to live in. Thank you, Arpita ma'am. Then I have Shohini with me. Shohini, so what are your views about what we are talking of?
Thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity. And first of all, I hope that you all are keeping well amidst all the uncertainties of the pandemic. And I would try to keep my words as compact yet meaningful as my abilities permit. So, what I have learned in my journey as a student is that we can understand any concept or any problem the best by reducing it down to pieces, then engaging with those thoughts seriously, and then correlating the dots. So I would attempt to pursue this question that my juniors have raised in the same way. So first, I think there are two clarifications that need to be made. First is the conceptual variation in the terms inequality and difference. By difference, we often mean the notion of dissimilarity or a simple distinction. However, a shift happens from difference to inequality when hierarchy gets introduced into it. For that matter, differences are categorized, rated, and scaled in a hierarchy so that inequalities are produced. And the second, that already the other speakers have clarified, that there are two notions that we need to differentiate between. One is the biologically given or the natural, that is the sex, and the social, cultural, and psychological appropriations of these differences in the terms of genders. So since we can understand that these genders are not the natural and therefore socially incorporated into us, so we find a spectrum of genders around us. Therefore, it becomes important for us to look how it is taken almost naturally that the genders are different. Why do we think that genders are different? And not only they are different, it is also blatantly assumed that the genders are unequal in relation to their broad others. So this supposition flows from the apparent distinctions between the bodily structures which are evident in the male and female bodies. which makes one believe that if their bodies are different, so their psyche and their biology must also be different, and therefore they must behave different. Therefore, we can see around us how gender is evident in our everyday lives, in the roles we play, in the activities we do. For example, we can see how males and females dress differently, and we can see how in the domestic spaces while serving food, gender roles come into play. So there have been mindful studies also about how even colors are gendered, as if they come to symbolize the genders, the pink for the woman and the blue for the man. When we look at gender and everyday life, therefore, we must question why gender is believed to be constructed, and therefore why gender is not natural. If we think gender is natural, then we have two things to look on. First, if gender is natural, then there would be guidelines and guidebooks that we must have followed throughout generations without any alteration. However, we can notice there are lots of changes that have happened in the gender relations and gender roles in probably our grandparents' generation and that of ours. For example, in our grandparents' generation, we would not have had this discussion in a public forum. So that's a change that has happened. Also, if we see broadly, there have been waves of feminisms and all sorts of activisms related to gender. So there is a contradiction that gender cannot be natural because it is inherently changing. So I think it requires a fresh attention and engaged thought to understand the roots of the problem. Why does gender exist at all? And why must there be gender hierarchy at all? We must understand here that an individual is a product of the social world. An individual is not just a product, he is a product of the time and space that he or she occupies. So whatever we do, whatever we think, our activities are all historically determined. And when I say the word historically determined, I mean to say that there have been important inequalities already existing in our life. There have been inequalities of caste, class, regional inequalities, which we are already born into. And when we are born into these inequalities, we try to sort of uh, take these inequalities sort of predate us. So gender inequality is not unique amongst these inequalities. What is important to be understood is that gender inequality is sort of entangles all other forms of inequalities together, making it a comprehensive sort of oppression. And we can understand that gender inequality occurs when one particular gender or some genders share a disproportionate share of power or valued resources such as educational, economic, and political privileges over the other gender, while there is nothing natural to for that gender to enjoy these resources. So when resources are already unequally distributed and they further get processed by different sorts of inequalities into the gender hierarchy, it becomes a composite sort of oppression where emancipation becomes very difficult to occur. The difference is that offer men a major share of power and privilege makes us important to contextualize women in the broad social space that they inherit. This social space consists of three things. One, the social background that we casually refer to, or their social histories, their life histories, that is the biographies and the experiences that they have had. And third, the social structure or the social organization that they have been born into. So this would answer some of the questions that my juniors have already raised, that have women always been the second sex? And if it is so, then is economic equality proper healthcare, education, and uh, participation in workspace enough to do away with the social discrimination and making them the equal sex. So there we need to focus on one other important issue, that is, though we imagine the category of women to be a homogeneous one, we must understand that there are cracks and hiatuses in the imagination of women as a composite whole. Obviously, there is the commonality amongst all women that we enjoy, we share womanhood. However, we must understand that no two women of different skin color are equal, or two women of the same skin color with a different class are equal. So, what we refer to as the fragile feminine and the strong masculine are just standard ideas that we have with a lot of variations that are there. So we must understand how these variations work, and then we must plan out how our path of emancipation can be achieved, because otherwise all our plans would be failed plans. So it would be difficult for me, I guess, to conclude if genders have achieved equal rights, privileges, or to say equity. However, I must tell you that there have been remarkable political, social, cultural, and technological developments in recent times. And what that has done is it has not been able to completely eradicate gender inequality, I would say, but it has brought gender into the public domain. It has become a category of analysis. It is no more a one-dimensional thought into which we try to look at. There are multiple views which we are considering, and it makes me optimistic that one day we would be able to cross out these inequalities and the differences may remain. And so I would I would end my words on a contemplative note where I would think that there would exist some day when all our differences would coexist. However, we would benefit everyone equally. Thank you.
Thank you, Sohini. This is what we all are actually looking for. Sohini gave us a completely different perspective of the entire concept. When we are talking of breaking the stereotyping, I think this is again one of the examples of breaking the stereotyping. If I'm talking of stereotyping, again, we have Anusha Day with us. She is again from our school, as I mentioned before, and she has traveled all the way alone abroad, and now she has established herself very, very successfully over there. So I will be now requesting Anusha to share your views, and but before you start sharing your views, I would like all of you, your juniors, to know what you are doing at present, what you are pursuing, what you are what you are doing there, so that you, again, you have always been an inspiration for the young students from your school. Maybe one more chance to get inspired from you. So Anusha, over to you.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity and I feel this is only feasible because it's COVID and like the whole thing is online. Otherwise, I wouldn't be attending this because, of course, it's not possible to come and attend it from a different continent. And this brings back, whenever I attend any school event, it brings back a lot of nice memories. So it's really great. And then I would like to congratulate all the junior students for such a wonderful presentation. So I basically passed out of BDM International in 2015. And then I traveled to Ireland, where I did my bachelor's in economics and politics, which I finished in 2018. And then I completed my master's in quantitative economics from University College Dublin, which is also in Ireland. And following that, I am currently in my first year of my PhD at KU Leuven, which is in Belgium. So basically, I have now moved country. So I am in a different country now. But at the moment, I am in Dublin, in Ireland again, because I'm back for some work. Yeah, so it has been a wonderful experience abroad. And yeah, today it's a great opportunity that I'm able to talk about gender equality in this seminar. So my view will be totally different, and it's from an economic perspective because that's my area of study. So I think all the students and the other alumni have already spoken a lot about whether we are in the 50-50, or how gender roles are in the society or at homes. So I am going to pick up a very particular topic in economics, which is the gender wage gap. So I think economists these days, when they are researching in this area, are kind of divided into two groups. Because recently there have been upcoming researches where they have said that the gender wage gap is a myth and it doesn't really exist. So why do people then talk about gender wage gap? So researchers claim that gender wage gap, the myth of gender wage gap, is basically spread by feminists or celebrities and politicians. But what is the reason behind this? Like, why do we say that, for example, if a man earns $1 per hour, a woman in that case will earn only 77 cents in that hour? So this statistic is basically calculated by dividing the median earnings of all women working full time by the median earnings of all men working full time. So say if the total wage of a woman is 30,800 and the total wage of a man is 40,000, then we divide 30,800 over 40,000, and the number we get is the amount earned by the woman per hour. But then these calculations do not really reveal a gender wage injustice, because it does not take into account occupation, position, education, or hours worked per week. So that is where researchers claim that gender wage gap is a myth, because it's always never possible to take into account all the different variables which affect gender equality or gender wages, or any sort of variables we think about in terms of research. So I'm going to talk about an interesting survey that was conducted in a US university. What they did there was they surveyed the top 5 best paying majors in the university, and the top 5, the lowest 5 paying majors in the university. And what they found was that in the top 5 best paying majors in the university, the number of male students enrolled in those courses are way higher compared to the number of female students enrolled in those courses. Whereas in the worst 5 paying majors, the number of enrollment, or the percentage of enrollment for females, were way higher than the percentage of males who were enrolled in those courses. So now the question arises, are females making the wrong choices? Or why do female students choose majors which give them a lower paying job compared to a higher paying job? And even within the same profession, we see that men and women make different career choices, and that can obviously impact their wages. For example, in nursing, if like male nurses on an average earn 18% more than female nurses, although nursing is a sector where females are recruited mostly compared to males. And some researchers have found that this is because male nurses have a tendency to gravitate towards the best paying nursing specialties. They work longer hours and disproportionately find jobs in cities with the highest compensation. So why is there a wage gap at all? So no one knows for sure, because as I said before, that there is no single study which can really include all the different variables that drives wages. And also, we will see that what others have already spoken about is that how work is divided at home. So females are already given too much of responsibilities at home, which is why women do not tend to select jobs where they have to be on call always, whereas male counterparts can select jobs where they're on call always and can, go to their office whenever they're needed. So women mostly prefer a more regular schedule for their work. So any firm, when they have, given the other factors constant, when they have like two people where one person is always ready to be in office whenever called, and then one person wants a regular schedule, they always prefer the person who is ready to be in office whenever that person is called. So that's a sort of choice making that comes in here. And the societal pressure, the societal norms, and the way women are portrayed as family carers, particularly in Indian society where males are considered to be the bread earners, play a huge role in this wage gap. And the idea of 50-50, as discussed before, should definitely start from the household. So basically from every unit of the economy, because in economics we consider every household to be one unit. So if we think that family responsibilities can be shared between men and women equally, I think things like wage gap and in the labor market, women and men can be equal in that sense. Also, very interestingly, during my master's, I did my research was based on remittances, which is the money migrants sent back home when they travel abroad for work, basically. So initially what I found was, or my main intention of doing that research was I wanted to see whether female migrants sent more remittances compared to male migrants, or male migrants sent more remittances to their houses. Well, of course, I found that male migrants send more remittances to their houses, and also I found that male and female migrants, when they send back remittances to their houses, and when the remittances or the money reaches the households, even at the household level, there is preferences for for what purpose that money is to be used. So there, even like when I presented my research at a seminar before, there was someone who questioned me, money is money. Why do you think that there will be a preference towards who sends it? But research actually shows that there is a preference. So in developing nations, when money is sent by female migrants, they are generally used for savings or for child care or for child education. Whereas when a man sends money home, that is mainly used for things like building a house or everyday kind of expenses and things like that. So even if a woman is allowed to go abroad and work, there are some unnoticed and hidden preferences towards a man that a woman constantly faces. Doesn't matter how much, like whether there is a gender wage gap or anything like that. So what I think as a whole is, I think if we look back, like even the way we dress today, or the way women are allowed to come out and talk to other people, I think 100 years back this was not the norm in India. So the change takes time. And yes, I think being a 50-50 is very much necessary, but also in order to reach that 50-50 level, the government has to take certain steps. There should be certain laws which will help both the gender equally. For example, if there are maternity leaves, there is an equal need for paternity leaves if we are expecting similar kind of responsibilities from the man of the house. So I don't think we have already reached the 50-50 level, maybe not even the 60-40 level. But over the years, we will be there. And if every unit of the economy or every human thinks that the world should be a 50-50, which will make it a better place to live, we will be there very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Anusha. Again, we got another insight to the entire topic that we are discussing. And I'm for sure you all will be agreeing that we can spend hours and hours discussing, but again, as correctly said, that probably coming to a conclusion for the moment is actually difficult, but again, we all can hope for the best. Now, finally, I have Shagnik with me. So, Shagnik, you have heard the entire discussion. We have seen how your juniors have presented their views. Now, we all would like to know what is your perspective, what is your observation to the entire situation for the moment. Over to you, Shagni.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, everyone. This is Shagni Chakraborty. I'm a 2018-19 pass out from BDM International. Currently, I'm pursuing political science from Jadavpur University. Uh, so a lot has been talked about gender equality. Both Shoini, Anushadi have spoken a lot about how the issue is globally and how it is placed in the society, how we determine what a sex is, what a gender is. Again, Arpita ma'am has said that how it is evolving slowly and steadily, the situations in at least in the urban locality. I would like to start by saying, by quoting Kofi Annan, actually, who is a former Secretary General of the United Nations. He once said on an interview, and I quote him, that gender equality is more than a goal in itself. It is a precondition for meeting the challenge of reducing poverty, promoting sustainable development, and building good governance. So, by this, what does he mean? He actually means that more than a goal, it's a precondition to, eliminate all the other exploitations that happen in the societal order. Um, so, moving on. To UN a bit, because my juniors have spoken a bit about United Nations, and we all know that it's a global body which takes care of all the international issues. So on 2015, in 2015, the United Nations decided to adopt 17 sustainable developmental goals, or they are known as SDGs. On 1st of January 2016, they made these SDGs come into force. And after that, later on that particular year, in 2016, the UN Women Body actually decided to launch a campaign which said Planet 50-50 by 2030, step it up for gender equality. So this is the topic of the World Population Day this year, 2020, and we are cross-checking that whether we have reached the how much have we traveled in this struggle towards a 50-50 society. This was based on the SDG number 5, which clearly portrays achieving gender equality and empower women and all girls. I'm going to speak about the Asia Pacific region because the the United States of America and the European region are quite always in the limelight. At least the issues are addressed, even from countries like India and the subsequent Asian regions. We talk about the issues happening in European countries and United States, whereas Asia Pacific region gets unnoticed quite a lot of times. So the Asia Pacific region is, I think, both a blessing and a curse. And why I'm telling this, because the biggest economies, some of the biggest economies are from the Asia Pacific region. But again, 2/3 of its population are poor. So you know how unequally are we already divided on that note. So the campaign launched by UN Women, they actually requested all the governments to come up with various laws, various schemes, so that they can help the oppressed come out of their exploitations, and so that they can come out of their problem and be at par with the mainstream sections. But we still see that somewhere down the line we lack in implementing these policies. And it's very evident, it's very evident in residing in a country like India, where we have schemes like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and Ujjwala, and a lot of them, if you just go and Google it, there are so many schemes about the oppressed sections, but we are somehow lacking in implementing them. And the problems what are the problems, basic problems? They are domestic violence, they are violation of consent from dear family members, their deprivation of education, representativeness, and we can make a long list out of it actually. But we have to look from within, as in how it has not been possible from the side of the government. We know that they lack at some sections, and we on an individual level also do lack in some section. So I think firstly, the problem that lies with us is that we don't address the problem just happening around us. Let's say with any of our friends, let's say with our sisters or anyone. Even if we address it, we choose to not speak about it. So speaking about it comes to be one of the most important point whenever you see it. Whenever you see it in your personal life, you have to address it and you have to speak about it. And secondly, what I think, where the governments lack, even after making so many schemes, that the people who are oppressed, they don't give the platform to them. I mean, representativeness is already given. I think one of our juniors mentioned that for talking about your problem, you have to get in the club. So there should be enough space in the club, as Baba Sahib also did say, with regard to Dalit politics, that you have to give space to the Dalits so to speak for themselves. I think I remember one interview by Malala where she said that I don't speak and I don't speak for myself. I don't want everybody to recognize me. I speak so that other people who are oppressed can hear me and come out with their own stories and get along with us in this whole struggle. So this being said, I'm moving on to some of the relatable stereotypes that over the years have existed and still exist, and this is with light to the rural situation and with what Shohini actually said about the masculine versus the feminine, the whole thing that goes on. So I think everyone here have been very familiar with this stereotype or stigma. If a man or a boy cries, they are often pointed out that "औरतें जैसे क्यों रो रहे हो," which means in English that why are you crying like a girl or a woman? Uh, uh, I think this is again portraying crying as a fragile emotion, and which is again uh, I think saying that girls have a fragile emotion and they are supposed to be weak. This is appropriating that thing. Secondly, if you are a student of Hindi, then you must be knowing that there's a great line by Subhadra Kumari Chauhan where she says that "Khoob ladi mardani, wo to Jhansi wali rani thi," which, if translated in English, means that bravely she fought, the Rani of Jhansi. She fought like a man. What does this mean? Even when it is a woman who has shown bravery, it is still cannot be understood as a feminine quality. Bravery still is being understood as the virtue of a man. So these are the stigmas that actually lies in the society. Now, going to the rural areas, we know that this is always being portrayed that women are fit for less heavy works. They are fit for the uh, less strenuous work. They can take care of the household maybe, but they cannot go to the construction site and work. But if you love sociology and if you want to be a participant observer, if you go into a village, being fortunate enough to go and stay there for some time, you will realize that the female, they are on the first hand taking care of the household. Secondly, they're going out in agricultural work like transplanting paddy, like going to coaling mines, like construction sites, etc., etc. Now, on the second scenario, what happens is, for example, there's a industry being set up near a village. There's a factory. Let's say 100 of employment is needed. If you take a survey, 80 among the 100 are actually employed people are actually men. So now if you consider the stereotype that has been tagged that women are fit for less heavy works, is it any way possible? This is hypocritical, right? Because they are doing the heavy works and again they are taking care of the home. Whereas men are actually taught to do the mechanized work, which is with help of a machine in a factory. So these are the kind of stereotypes that are still on in the ground level if we look into it. Uh, Now, for all these kind of exploitations, we have seen UN Women working a lot. They have few priority areas which they work upon. Even amidst the COVID-19 scenario, they have been crucially working in ending violence against women. There has been a sheer upsurge in this whole pandemic situation of domestic violence, of violence in public places, into trafficking, etc., etc. So UN Women has worked on that. They constantly promote leadership and participation, as mentioned by, I think, Shreya mentioned about it, that how New Zealand and Germany have come up with a female leader to hold the country firm during the time of COVID-19. UN Women also works with the national planning with and budget planning with the Niti Aayog, uh, working and implementing with other schemes that have been provided. Migration has been another problem during this whole pandemic situation. Again, UN Women has started a campaign where they say that women have been in the forefront of all these problems in COVID, and they should be supplied with the basic aids by various civil society members, NGOs, etc. So they are really working on it. Now, I've said a lot about gender equality, gender inequality. I think I would like to just bring back one point that was made by Shohinidhi, that you cannot study gender alone. Gender is one of the many injustices that is going on in this whole society. So there's a clear example. I still remember. I think if you all remember the Occupy Wall Street movement, it was a movement by the youth of America for the first time in the United States of America, where the youth came out of their house unitedly to protest for their employment, and there was no division. Everybody came together. So again, if you see that gender, if not economically supported, they are not empowered, but they associated their struggle with this whole Occupy Wall Street movement, and they came out, and the slogan was, "We are the 99% against you 1%." That means that 99% of wealth is occupied by this 1%, and this 99% have the wealth of that 1%. So I think initiatives like this are very important, and the recent achievements made in India, like I think we have not mentioned about one feature, that is the feature of religion. Religion has been used to exploit women since a long time. Patriarchy has been imposed on women with the help of religion. So decisions like the allowance of Sabrimala temple and the ban on triple talaq are being applauded by the UN, and these are the recent achievements, I think, that have been made in India. I would like to end on the note on something by quoting Antonio Guterres, who said a few days back that put the women and girls at the center of efforts to recover from COVID-19, and you will see the results. They are coming out of it. I think that not only COVID-19, you put them in the center of anything, their own struggle, and be an encouragement system and a support to them, they're going to come out of the struggle. I think that's all from my side, and I hope for the best.
Thank you, Sharnik. One thing I can say that listening to all of you, I can definitely say that our future is in the safe hand. So we feel proud on behalf of the school that we have actually able to nurture you with such belief, with such maybe views, so that again we can proudly say that one thing I would at least say that our future is in the correct and right hand. So we have Arbi ma'am with us. Arbi ma'am.
I think BDM International has really proved that we believe in gender equality. Both boys and girls, they were just extremely good, extremely good. I think we have, of course, come a very long way in establishing this fact, but with more literacy and education for all, I think the world will further get away with the prevalent social discrimination which is there. And in this hour of crisis, in this COVID-19, I think we have seen equal contribution from both men and women putting tireless efforts and to tackle the situation. just an optimistic approach has already been adopted from the time of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. But now I think it's the responsibility of the Gen Next, and we have such vibrant Gen Next people. So 101% I'm sure that we are going to get away with social discrimination and everybody is going to be the same. Thank you, everybody. It was really lovely hearing all of you. And I think we need to give a special thanks to Shagnik, Shohini and Anusha. And of course, Arpita ma'am for being a teacher and an ex-student also. And present students, thank you so much. It was very, very nice. All of you had come up with such lovely examples and which was an inspiration for all of us to learn. Thank you, everybody. The program was extremely nice. And Shunanda ma'am, very nicely anchored. Very nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So I think this is all for the day, and as I said, it's a continuous debate that we can keep on discussing. So maybe we will choose another platform and one other fine afternoon where we can talk and discuss more about it. Thank you very much. Thank you, and again, stay safe and stay connected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.